My name is Donda Slayton. Welcome to Evolving Educators. So today, Chris, we have a great guest. So this person has been a teacher, a coach. She was an assistant principal at New Caney High School, and now she is the principal at Pine Valley Middle School. It is Kesha Cauley.
Wow, I'm so excited to talk to her. What's she going to be talking to us about today?
So we're going to be talking about a topic that is very important for leaders. It's really about empowering others and helping them develop, right? And so, which is what our aspiring leaders are all about. And so she's going to be talking to us about how to empower others, how it adds value to your culture, climate, and you get a lot of bang for your buck when you just focus on people and relationships and empowering others. It's going to be a great episode, Chris.
I can't wait to talk to her about that. When we come back from the break, we'll have Principal Kesha Cauley.
Thank you so much, Kesha. We're so glad you're here again to join us.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm so glad to be here.
So today, Chris, we're going to talk about the importance of empowering your staff. And so, I mean, what do you mean, Miss Cauley? You can't do everything on your own with all those students and staff?
I am not qualified to do everything on my own.
So why are you so passionate about this?
I think that it's because of just that. Like, you really need your people, and you need them to be empowered to do what they're passionate about on top of the things that they are required to do, right? But that passion piece really makes them go above and beyond, and it just makes for a better culture, and everything gets done better, and they're happier doing it.
Yes. Well, we get into this profession to help people, right? Mm-hmm. And so it always makes people feel a certain way when they're a part of something bigger than themselves, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, I love that. So have you had some mentors or what stirred this passion for empowering people?
So really, I think it just kind of goes back to before I got into this role as an assistant principal. I really was able to fuel my own passions, and you do have the job, you have the thing, you have the tardies, the discipline that you have to do, and you have the, your attendance meetings, there's some of them not tasks, your day-to-day that you have to do. You got to, be out in the hallways, do all the things. But there was always some room for what I loved. So like when I was at New Caney High School, I got to be the coach. I'm a former coach, as are you, so that passion kind of, you always have to feel it some way. And so I got to start coach the unified sports. And so
I remember that, Miss Cauley. I forgot all about that.
A passion like that. And even though it was after school practices, right? It was more time. It was more effort. I'd never been a track coach prior. So that is a lot of paperwork I didn't know about initially. Sure. But being able to see those kids do something they love and watch those parents cheer them on the sidelines for the first time in high school, like, I'd do it 100 times again if I could. Yeah. Right? And so is it more work? Yes. But is it because it's something I was passionate about?
Right. And you know what I loved about that when I was a part of that as well for the first time.
Because you guys hosted for us at Porter High School. Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know anything about that. And so speaking about empowering, I pretty much got to watch everything because the students were, so our students alongside our special needs students talk about empowerment.
That was the best part too.
Yes.
Like it just, everything about it was so beautiful.
So it was. And so they are able to even, grow leadership skills much more than track, right? They, that was very impactful on their life. Yes. I saw the difference they made in other students' lives and the difference they made with each other and helping friends that might need a little bit bigger help up, right?
It was beautiful. They got to do it right along with them. And just even some other things like being able to celebrate staff, just starting the Eagles of the Month, student staff, just little things that I got to also continue to be a part of really helped me just be better all around. And so I thought being in the place to where I could do that, now as a principal, it's important that I tap into the passions of, the people I work with now.
Absolutely. So what are some ways then that we can empower people to do things? And one of the things this also makes me think of, Ms. Cauley, is, when we're in the Aspiring Leaders Academy face-to-face, a question we always get is, how can I get, rather noticed for a position, or how can I make a difference? How can I get more involved? Yes. And so, I mean, that's
Yeah.
part of the principal's job too, right?
Absolutely. And honestly, now thinking back kind of when I was in that role, I think it was really, I leaned into my passions to see what I loved, like people, like, just being nosy. So I went to my principal at the time and I said, hey, like, I really want to do this. I want to start like a new Eagle Academy, like not new teaching, right? Like, but just new here. And so what can we do to like lighten that burden of change?
Yes.
Change is hard.
Yes.
Right. So how can I help kind of facilitate that? And he asked me 2 questions. He said, will it meet my expectations? And I said, oh, absolutely. And he said, okay. Like that was, it was one question. Oh no, he said it better meet my expectations.
Right.
So he really let me full-fledged take full reins, but I had to make sure I met his expectations. And I did that. So on the flip side, like I brought something to my leader and I did not ask for them to help in any way. I didn't add anything to their plate. You know what I mean? And I made
But
sure
you added so much value to the campus.
And I made sure to exceed the expectation. So I put in the work and it was something I was passionate about. And so it looked effortless. And I enjoyed it. Like I got to meet with him monthly. Like I wanted to make sure.
But what I heard you saying though that I love is really when you were thinking about ways you could grow your own leadership, you started with your passion. And so that's one way that an aspiring leader can get maybe develop
they develop themselves because
Sure.
it's not about what can I do to check off these boxes? Like what can I do to get to the next level? It's what do I love?
Yes.
What can I do to help ease the burden of someone else? And that's the definition of leadership.
Absolutely.
So it's not like, give me a task. No, let me figure out how I can.
That's
facilitate
very
that.
visionary thinking too, though, because you're really coming out of your classroom and looking at the scope of what is the school need, what strengths do I have that could add value to this campus, and why not start with, if it's going to be something extra, Kesha, why not start with something you love?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
And I really think another thing that is important to make sure that as a leader you're tapping into the passions of your staff is you have to get to know them. Like I have to know what you love, like authentically, like not in work. Like don't tell me what your favorite lesson to teach is, right? Like I'll learn that through planning and I'll learn that as I'm doing observations. But like, what do you do when you're not here? Like, who are you? What do you enjoy? And so like, even just on the campus I'm on now, just talking to my staff, I found out that one of my teachers, she loves like party planning. And I'm like, you are my opposite.
Right.
I love that. And so I'm like, well, tell me more about that. And she's like, it's just something that I love. So it started with just like, well, let's like a school dance. Let's decorate it. Let's plan it. Let's party it. Well, let's get kids involved. Well, it's developed into a full-fledged student council that is thriving. And she is doing an outstanding job with it. And now it's like kind of that same thing. Hey, I've got an idea. And I'm like, she'll ask me 3 questions. I'll give her a few answers. And then she runs with it. And her students exceed my expectations.
Yes.
And that's beautiful. Like
That's awesome.
it is really cool what people can do when you tap into their passions.
I love that. So then really what this comes down to is relationships. And so, but I love starting off, what are some ways you could get to know your staff?
And being present, I think that because all of these are flyby conversations,
So
in
not
the
even
hallways.
taking a lot of time as a Kesha.
Not even forcing it. Like we're gonna meet after school. We're gonna play bingo together. Like
Sure.
and I love that because I would show up just because I'm competitive. Like I want to win.
Sure.
Bingo is an opportunity to win.
Yeah.
So, but it really just being authentic and just making sure that you're present and having those conversations and getting to know them and listening. Because then it turns from, oh man, I've got to find NJHS, I've got to find Stuco, I've got to find that, to like, oh hey, I think this is something that you'd be good at because you said you like doing this. And this is how it can benefit our kids and our campus, and you can be happy doing it. So it is no longer like, hey, we need someone to stay after school to do this,
Well, and then you get the person that, of course, they're going to say yes to you, right? And so, but it might not necessarily be their passion. And so I love that and I think that's a big part of empowerment, Kesha, when you take the time to think about your staff, think about their interests and their strength, and then matching them with the student, with the campus need.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, so if anything, we could tell our aspiring leaders, make sure that you've identified what your strengths are, know yourself, right?
Yes.
So that you can be prepared to tell your campus leader.
Important.
These are my
can
things.
bring.
Yes.
What you want to do. Or just even like being intentional about just being present and maybe removing some obstacles so people can have more time for their passions. It's hard.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
this job is super hard. They are busy. We are crunched for time. We know that is a huge stressor.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's not that they don't want to pour into their passions. They don't know where to find the time to do it.
Sure.
And so when you are intentional about utilizing your people to clear up space for them to pour into their passion, like I've got a teacher who is fantastic at what she does in the classroom, but she also builds community like nobody's business. Like, and I mean, when I say build community, I mean like we'll open up and cook lunch for everyone at a lunch. Hey, teachers, come on by. Like, I'm gonna grill like grilled cheese. It's
Sure.
like, and then all of a sudden at lunch, it's not like in isolation or teachers aren't working while they're doing their lunch. They're coming to the teacher's classroom and they're like just being with each other and
That's
they're
incredible.
enjoying what they
That's
do.
a great example of building community,
Oh my
which goes with
goodness.
empowerment too,
Yeah,
right?
no, for
yeah,
sure.
It
I
is,
love
and
that.
clear. I'm like, that must be your passion because it sounds like just it's grilled cheese, right? It is amazing. It is delicious. Like,
But you know what we both know, we all three know that quite often the most powerful things and impactful things, just like we've talked in other podcasts too, Chris, the most powerful and impactful things can come from the most simplistic ideas, right?
Yes.
And so it
Simple and
doesn't.
consistent.
Yes, yes. And I think what's important for our aspiring leaders too to know is that it doesn't have to be this earth-shattering idea, does it?
No, it really can be as simple, and it is what do you love? What do you love? What can you bring to the table that no one can bring to the table like you can bring it to the table, right?
Sure.
Like, what is your thing?
So those are all great, Miss Cauley. You know, we've talked about, you know, ways to empower people, but surely there's some obstacles. What may be some barriers, you know, to empowering staff?
Yeah. It is. It really, you said relationship building, and that's huge because you have to have that trust. People don't want to let down their walls unless they know that it's a safe place, right? And so just being present, enjoying, being mindful of like, you can't just have conversations when you're ready on your time. You talked about consistency, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to constantly walk the hallways and read the room. Are they ready? Did they just have a tough class and maybe they don't want to talk about what they love right now?
Yeah.
So you just check in and you keep moving, right? But you just really have to just be mindful and be willing to do the work to just like help them discover what they love because everyone got an education for a reason,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it is harder now than maybe it's ever been.
Sure.
Maybe I should ask you like how,
Yeah.
because I'm new here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so, but I do feel that just weight of it. It's so important.
Well,
it's
it
hard
comes
to
down.
find it,
It
that
is.
passion.
However, I mean, anytime we take, I mean, these are people, right? These are people, and so we know that community building, relationship building. People come to work, of course, to teach students and be with the students. But I mean, it's always nice when you have that culture and climate of,
Yes.
you know, we're in this together
Yes.
and we're here to help each other. And
Absolutely.
so, what are some ways that you've grown your own campus and culture?
Oh my
at-
goodness.
at Pine Valley?
That is a great question. I think it just started with building that trust, and originally it kind of started with a book study. But I really think my first year was very tough. It was very, very tough, and I think what they
It's like
needed
being a
to
first
see-
year teacher all over again. Yeah.
all over
Yeah.
again, and it is hard and it's heavy. And I think I would hope that such beautiful relationships came out of that because I showed up every day. I didn't quit because they deserved that, and they really took care of me.
You have that when you have a good culture and climate, though,
Yes.
and so that speaks volumes that they are pouring into the leader.
Well, and here's what's amazing about my campus is that there are some teachers there that have been there, have seen it come through so many different changes, right? They've been through so many different administrators. And I'm in my year 3, my full third year. And so I've got teachers that are way more experienced in their role than I'm in mine. And my leadership team, we are also still young and growing together. So the importance of everyone collectively is what really makes a successful campus. I don't have all the answers.
Sure.
I need you to help me.
Yeah.
You know, and
Sure.
so I tell you that I love pouring into people. that people are my passion. Like, I just am intrigued by just your different stories and your backgrounds and how you respond to things and like why. Like, I'm just curious. I'm super nosy. My husband says, you are so nosy. And I said, well, I think that might just be my superpower. Because I genuinely want to know. He's like, why do you care so much about random things? I don't know, but I do.
Yeah.
And so I think just really being present and just showing them authentically who I am and not being scared to say like, yeah, no, I am leading this campus and I'm going to do it with my whole heart.
Yes.
And I care deeply. But
Well,
I
and
don't
then
know.
I chose you for a reason, though.
Yeah.
I chose you for a reason. I am here. I care deeply. I say that to my staff all the time, you know, to my leadership team too, Chris. I, you know, I chose you for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, if I could do your role, you know, I'd be in your role,
Yes.
right? And so
Yeah,
I
no,
chose you
for
for a
sure.
reason. And so we all, that goes back to what we talk a lot about in Aspiring Leaders, that strength-based leadership. And so
Absolutely.
knowing what each person comes to the table with
Yes.
and making sure that you can grow that and
Yes.
expand on that.
Yes.
And then I love what you said to Miss Cauley about, you know, you have something that needs to be done. And when you know your staff and you have those relationships, it's like, oh, I know someone perfect for this.
Yes.
Right.
And it's not just because you'll say yes.
That's
it's because what
right.
you love, it's what you love to do.
Yes.
And the longer I'm there, the more I'm learning about them. And I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't even know. Like, we just recently got through student-led conferences, and it was a teacher's idea wholeheartedly. She's like, oh, I've done this before. I think it'd be cool. And it was beautiful to watch the parents just have academic conversations with their students, and the students are leading the conversations. It was like the parents were in school, right? Like, they had their pencils up, and they were listening and learning. And everything great that has come from Pine Valley has started with a teacher's idea. And
That's amazing.
I've just been able to pour into it.
Sure.
And so,
But you know, as leaders, I mean, that is where we come in. So a teacher will, I agree with you, always have the greatest ideas, but they may have just a limited skill set of how to implement and roll that out. But that's where we come
Yes,
in, right?
absolutely.
And so it's always great when you have these people around you that have these fabulous ideas. And then it starts making us think, right?
Yes.
Like, you know what? That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this further. And then that
Yeah.
gives us the opportunity to ask more questions
yes, and
to
pull in who we
expand on-
need to make it
Right.
as great as it
Yes.
can be. I think everyone's seen this clip. It's the man that sings "Amazing Grace," and he stands up and he
Yes.
sings. Like, that is when you work with your passion. That's what I think of. And it's at first he's like, "Oh, amazing."
Well,
right?
he
Like,
says he's a choir teacher
Yeah,
and he just
yes.
sings the song.
Yeah.
And then the person on the stage says, okay, so now let me give you some context, you know, and so he frames it a little differently.
Yes.
Well, the man's whole body language changed,
Yes,
didn't it?
Right.
It was
Yes.
beautiful, and he sang it with his passion. And I'm
Yes.
like, so if we just as leaders are able to empower people by removing obstacles that make it tough for them to have time for their passions or to even want to pour into their passions, and then we just kind of build a community and we really listen and we get to know them and we provide them with opportunities to pour in their passions, you will get so much more out of, and I don't even want to say like so much more out of them. You will get so much more out of what they bring to the table.
Well, of
Right.
purpose, right?
So much more
Yeah.
purpose. Yes. Like,
you know, so one
and
of
then
the
it's fun while they do
Yes,
it.
Absolutely.
absolutely.
The-
So let me tell you something that I'm thinking of with this. You know, if you are going to be the principal, Miss Cauley, and then others have ideas, what kind of mindset is the leader going to have? Because it's not my idea.
Yes.
So how should the leader respond when they're getting these
Love
ideas?
this question, because I honestly, it kind of started with, have you seen that movie Yes Day?
No.
So it's about this. Have you seen it? You have young kids. Yeah. So it's like the parents pick one day where they don't say no, because kids are, you're always saying no, you're so mean, right?
Okay.
And so the parents are like, you know, we'll set some parameters, but you'll get one day of all yeses. And so I'm on a budget. I can't have a yes day, right? However, instead of saying no, I try to say how. So they'll bring an idea, and I'm like, that could be really cool. Tell me how. Like, tell me more. That I'm nosy, right? Like, I just want to know,
Love
like,
that.
how did your mind get there? And so I don't say no, even though there might be a very long list of reasons why I could say no, or maybe I should, right? But we can't keep doing what we've done. We've got to try new things. And if I tell you no, do I shut you down? What happens next? Will you bring me more ideas? Like, like how can I continue to pour into you? So
but
it's
if you
not
give
no.
them something, so when you say how, that's really reflective.
Yes, how? Like,
And
tell me
so-
how we can do
yes.
this.
And so even if they say, I don't know, they're just going to go away and reflect on that,
Yes,
right?
let's
and
think
then
about
come
this.
back to you.
Yes.
Oh,
And
I
so
love that
it
idea.
is really, and then they kind of see some of the obstacles that we do face, why it might be difficult, but difficult doesn't mean it shouldn't be done. And we can figure out a way
Sure.
if you're really passionate about it. Like, you really want this?
Yeah.
Well, then how? Like, how are we going to do this?
Right.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
that.
and if they can explain it in great
Yes.
detail, then like you've thought about this a lot.
Absolutely. And I'm
This
here
is a
for you.
good-
Let's
this is a
do
good
this.
idea.
Like,
Like,
and
oh,
so.
you-
I love that. Okay, so Ms. Cauley, it's been so great to have you here today. We are
you.
so excited. I love this. It's talking about people's passion. I mean, we're
Right.
passionate people here. Teachers usually are, right?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so I love building things, from ideas. And so that's what
Yeah.
you taught me today. I appreciate that,
I
Ms.
do,
Cauley,
of
so
course.
much.
And I think what I want to say, because this isn't like a 1, 2, 3, like it's so intangible. Like, I just want to inspire or encourage leaders to find their own way of how to do that, because I didn't like give clear instructions, or I don't even know if I answered any of your questions clearly.
You did.
But everyone just has to find their own way of how to discover what their teachers love and how to put them in positions.
Absolutely. But the thing I think we can send aspiring leaders away with is building those relationships and asking people, being very genuine
Yes.
on the fly, as you said,
Yes.
even a flyby,
Yes.
asking them what their interests are. What do you do outside of school? So it starts with a simple question.
Oh, yeah.
And I think everyone could do that.
And taking the time to listen, because sometimes, like, if I'm being fully transparent, I'm in my head and I'm kind of like, huh. But I truly believe every conversation happens for a reason too. Like, everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
Sure.
But that could
especially
even be in the
conversations.
hallway
Yes.
during a hall change.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, hey, how's it going? Or something you might have seen or heard them talk about in the teacher's
Yeah.
lounge, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And hanging on to that little nugget and then just starting that
Letting
conversation.
it develop.
And so I think that our aspiring leaders would come away with they need to make sure they take time to build those
Take
relationships.
the time. I think that's it. You're like, that is one thing where, yes, we're all really busy, but that person is speaking to you for a reason. So stop what you're doing and give them that time, even if you don't have it.
I love that.
And I think that this is important, even if someone's not an aspiring leader, they just want to stay in the classroom and be a superstar.
Yes.
Because if you're that teacher who's going and asking a kid, like, hey, what do you like? That kid will learn way more from you.
Yes.
If like when I taught math, I would find things that my kids liked and I would throw it in a word problem.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that kid would be like taking a test and be like,
They would
Yes.
lose their
And
mind.
they knew
don't
it was
they,
you.
Chris?
this question is about
you
this.
heard
You
them.
remember?
Yes.
And it's impactful for the kids, and it's just a good skill to have in our field, regardless of your position.
I love that.
Absolutely.
And I love how you said that about teachers, because that is really who you want. We all want student leadership, but student leadership doesn't come from administration,
No,
right? Sure, we model, but teachers develop student leaders.
right.
So I love that you brought that in, because that is such an important piece. We need student leadership.
That's part of
Teachers do
this.
that.
Even goes down. You just made me think of this as an aha moment. That's so obvious, but this empowering others. It starts. I mean, we're talking about aspiring leaders today, right,
Yeah.
Kesha? But this goes from principal to teacher to
Yep.
teacher to student,
Yes. Right.
student to cafeteria staff,
Yes.
custodial staff. It's really what builds a community, isn't it?
And I think it does. And I think once we get to that place where, and this might be a little unpopular, but when we really pour into our teachers and our teachers pour into the kids, then our students are being taken care of. If we know that our teachers are doing what's best for kids, then administration, we don't have to say, do what's best for kids. The teachers don't get left out. They get poured into. And so then we can just pour into and say, hey, I'm going to do what's best for my teachers, because I know my teachers are doing what's best for kids.
Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful. And then we don't have to be the ones to say, do what's best for kids, because that does cut out our teachers. Right. And that's not fair. That's who we need to pour into.
Yeah.
And then they pour into the students, like you said. And then our students are empowered as well. And then they change their campus.
Yeah.
That would be
when you're
amazing.
empowering people, really, Chris, it sounds like, I mean, you don't ever have to say that. Take care of the kids or
Yes.
take care of the
Yes,
staff.
that's true.
It's just a byproduct
It
when we
is.
take care, let people work to their strengths. It still
like
goes back.
that.
I love this. It just speaks to that strengths-based leadership that we talk about all the time in
Yeah.
Aspiring Leaders. We're taking a
Absolutely.
test right now. Everyone got the book. And so, yes. And so we're taking our strengths-based test, and that's really what it's about. And then understanding what your staff's strengths are so we can empower them.
We can't, and you just made me think of something that as leaders, if you are having to have too many of those conversations, well, you need to do what's best for kids, then you should be self-reflective.
Yeah.
Because it is a byproduct. I love how you said that.
I love that. Okay.
Well, we are about to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to have a question from one of our aspiring administrators.
Okay.
Would you be willing to stay for that
Oh,
segment?
absolutely.
Well,
I would love to.
when we come back, we're going to have some great answers to a question from one of our aspiring administrators. All right, we're back from our break, and today our question is, how would you go about starting a passion project at your campus?
Starting a passion project. As an aspiring
As
administrator.
an
if you-
aspiring,
if
Oh,
if you're a
yes,
teacher in the
yes.
class, maybe
Oh,
you're aspiring to be a
absolutely.
leader.
Absolutely.
I think that's what they meant by the question for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Is so then how could I get something started on the campus that I feel strongly about?
Well, I think you definitely have to tap into your passion, figure out what you really want to do that you can do full-fledged, but then also don't be afraid to do it, right? Like you have to really be willing to put yourself out there, potentially even if it fails. I think that was the hardest thing about being an administrator is, or really being a principal in this role is making sure that you are a productive failure, right? Like you're gonna make mistakes.
I
Failure's gonna
love
happen.
the little saying, of fail forward.
Yes, that you are failing forward and that you're becoming better from it. Like you learn more from your losses, right, than your wins. But not knowing how to do that or how you naturally do that before you get in that role is going to make that role so much harder. And so as an aspiring leader, put yourself in situations to where it is going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. It might not be a success, but I think that will show how you fail forward, and that is a requirement in this role.
Well, it really showcases your character, doesn't it?
Yes, because all of the things, like you can learn and do all the things, right? The monotonous tasks, or you can there's trainings for all of the things that have to get done in this role. Like someone can teach you, great mentors. There's lots of support in this district. You will learn how to do the job. But the tough, icky, yucky, get in the mud, get dirty parts of the job, no one can teach you that. You've got to go through that. And so if you put yourself in situations where you can go through that before you get in that role and you learn how you fail and you learn how to get up and keep going, I think that is so crucial and it's so important for aspiring administrators to put themselves in those situations.
I've had aspiring leaders come to me and say, what is something I could do to, I want to help out the campus. What is something I could do? And, Ms. Cauley, I must say, I don't know how you feel about this, but I don't really like that question.
Oh my gosh, you read my mind. So you're giving me another task because I want to pour into you. So now I've got to figure out what do we need? What does this campus need? What fits their skills? Why haven't you done that already? That's your homework.
Yes, that's exactly right.
You should be looking and saying, hey, I've seen this.
Because
I've got
we
a solution.
certainly want to help. We want to pour into people too, right?
Yes.
But that would mean that maybe you're not as creative as I need you to be, right?
Or I'm going to give you a task that it's not going to fit you. And now it's going to stress you out, which is in 10 is going to end up back, then I've got to.
That backfires.
That backfires.
On us.
Yeah, and I don't want it to.
That's right.
I completely
That's right.
agree.
And so make sure that you're taking time to observe, look for some. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a weakness of the campus, but what can you add yourself to, right?
What do you want to improve?
Yes.
Like, this is great, but we could try this.
That's exactly right. And so I would say the first step is just sitting back and looking, observing about what needs to be done that matches your skill set and your passion, of course. I love what you say about that.
And it's so interesting. Before I'd even gotten this role, before I got my first assistant principalship, I was teaching and coaching, and I got an opportunity. I applied for summer school AP, and so then as I'm going, I'm
That's a great
interviewing.
opportunity.
It was, and so I'm interviewing. I'm going through, and it were really tough questions, and I'm like, oh gosh, I didn't do great, and I got the position, and so I'm like, awesome. Like, how did that happen? And the administrator at the time told me, one of the main reasons is because I saw you in some adversity, and I loved how you handled it.
So it had
Because
nothing to
it
do
had
with the
nothing
interview.
to do with the questions. He said, I can teach you all that.
Well, you know
But
what?
I saw
Aspiring-
you handle
Yes.
a tough situation. I was coaching, and I was up in the press box, and he was the administrator, and another coach was kind of aggressive. And he said, I saw you handle that situation. That's what landed you this job.
Because
And I was
what we
like,
say all the time in Aspiring Leaders Academy is you're always on an interview.
Yes.
That's right.
So then it
Yes.
had nothing to
It
do
had
with your
it
interview
had
at
to
all.
It had to do with me overcoming adversity, and he just happened to be there.
So
And so
that's amazing.
and honestly, it kind of ties in. Can I read my quote? Because I
Oh,
love
please
it.
do.
It ties
Please
into my
do.
quote. It says, I am thankful for my struggle because without it, I would not have stumbled across my strength. And so I think about all
Love
the
that.
situations that I've gotten so much better because of, or what has put me in situations where I can really pour into my passion and try to make an impact and different in the lives of others. They were tough situations, but I'm so thankful for them because they helped me become who I am today.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I love that, Miss Cauley.
that's
Thank you
great.
so much. And I
Yes, of
loved your
course.
quote. We love a good quote around
Oh,
here.
yes.
That was a very good one.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you again so much for coming on the show
course.
today. We really appreciate your time
Yes.
and your willingness to build value in people.
I
in this
love
district.
that, Chris.
Yes.
And yeah, we're so glad you're in New Caney ISD.
Absolutely.
I love it
Thank
here.
you, Miss Cauley. This is amazing.
Thank
Thank you again for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
And thank you for sharing with us.
Yes, absolutely.
Closing.